It is considered by many to be one of the best television themes of all time. That's not quite correct. It is the best TV theme of all time. I would give honorable mentions to MASH, Taxi, The Incredible Hulk end theme, Lonely Man, Hill Street Blues, obviously, The Rockford Files, and of course, Minder, that we discussed in our guilty pleasures all the time. And I'm sure you've got the scars to prove it. Yeah.
Hey everybody out there, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's Andy and John here, and it's time to dig into some music. A song that John is going to be offering me up to go off and listen to, so let's get things underway. John, how are you and what do you have in store for us?
Admittedly. And we have a track from a band, Radio Birdman.
Nah.
Excellent.
Nope.
And the track is Aloha, Stephen Danno.
Aloha, Stephen Danno. Okay. All right. Well, let me go off and give this thing a go, and I'll come back and let you know what I think. It's like wind or distant traffic. All right, I didn't watch this show except if it was I happened to catch bits and pieces if it were on the TV when someone else was watching it or if I was flipping channels, but I think I'm catching allusions to Hawaii Five-0 in this, which is interesting and not at all what I was expecting. But it sounds like they're fans enough to at least write a song about it or an opening verse at the very least. Yeah, let's take that back. That thing kicked off like a wild manic ball of energy. Very punky, very aggressive. And I liked it. If you ever wondered what the Beach Boys 20 years later and booked at the CBGB would sound like, I think we've got it. Those harmonies really are fabulous, but they do have this like surf rocky Beach Boys kind of vibe to them. Hold on, let's hear that again. Like that. Destination in the field. I wanna have a tail. It's stand at the hilltop. Yeah, should be staying in the jail. He's waiting for the KGB. And here's his dossier. Those reds won't be having. This guy gets is a man who lives a life of danger, or something like that, right? That sounds like, secret agent man. I think that like musical phrase is meant to suggest that, right? It's pretty overt, but I just think I've never thought of Secret Agent Man and Hawaii Five-O or any of those other television shows that were akin to it and like put them together. But of course they would make sense. I mean, you're, you know, probably working undercover, trying to bring down the bad guy. So yeah, why wouldn't it fit? And the whole like Hawaii beach rock, that is a quintessential beach rock guitar motif. That classic. Is it Johnny Rivers? Yeah, all of it makes sense, and it's a fun, cheeky little nod to it, as well as lyrically these nods to Hawaii Five-O or whatever. This is fun. I didn't think I was getting into this when I pressed play. Oh, that was great. And I have to say, earlier they sort of teased some extracurriculars on the guitar, I think, after an earlier chorus. And I was like, I wish there was some more of that. Well, I wished it into fruition or I should have just been more patient, because there it came, and boy, it was lovely. I would be giving, up until that part, most of the roses were going to the drummer, but that guitar motif, on top of like the cute little nod to Secret Agent Man, just everything else about that was fabulous too. So, killed it. Yes, that was just so much fun. It started off thinking, it's a little silly to, pen a whole song about your, I assume, favorite television show. But you know what? It worked. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I've never heard of Radio Birdman, as I mentioned to John, but I'm glad that I had today, because this was, I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but it was just the perfect amount of energy, a little cheekiness with the subject matter and what they did with that guitar, and how the two make sense together, like a police detective show based in Hawaii, and then a surf rock classic that is about a secret agent. It ends up working. And it's just I don't know, it's kind of smile inducing, and you add to that just the overall energy of this rollicking kind of like punk rock song, sort of born of punk rock anyway, and those drums and that the guitar, all of it sounded great. So yeah, what's not to like? Let's get back to John and cut this up some more.
Velcro Trainers, he's back. So you've listened to Aloha, Stephen Danno by Radio Birdman. What do you make of it all?
At first, I was like, Aloha, Steve. But I suppose it's like Aloha, Steve and Dano. Like, I was like, who's Aloha, Steve? That's a cool nickname.
Works down the beach, man.
Yeah, exactly. Shaka bra. So yeah, the track begins, and it's interesting because it starts off with this like whirring sound that at first kind of sounds like traffic in the distance, but then as it becomes clearer, it actually reminds me more of like a blizzard outside your window or something, like this serious wind being blown and spun around. But before you know it, the drums come in with this like super tight paradiddle on the snare, and then that quickly evolves into a more than rollicking beat, all while the sound of that whirring kind of continues to circle around the soundscape. And then for a fleeting moment early on, you get this the beat cuts out, and there's this like two-word phrase, I think it's two words, that I didn't catch, that are spoken, followed by this much louder, all right. Then the music proper kicks off, and it's sounding more than just a little bit like some rowdy punk rock that we've got going on here. Now, I don't know much about this show, but the name should have suggested it in and of itself, but its heyday preceded my existence. But the lyrics that unfold from here appear to contain more than one reference to the TV show Hawaii Five-O, coupled with like I mentioned, the Danno and the Aloha. I probably should have pieced that together, but here we are. I'm starting to see it come into to picture here. They're coming pretty rapid fire, but I catch allusions to McGarrett and Danno, and other law enforcement terms like APB, and then the line 5-0 is on the move. So yeah, Hawaii Five-O it is. By the time the lead singer is professing his gratitude for Steve, other members of the band join in with similar, or pardon me, with some killer ooze like that to harmonize along with him. And it's kind of like imagining the Beach Boys and what they would sound like 20 years later booked at the CBGB. It's really, it's crisp and it's great harmonization, but it's a different vehicle for that than the conventional Beach Boys surf rock stuff. And yet we're kind of in a place, this sound of where beach rock would kind of go or merge along with the punk sound, because California would then kind of bust out this kind of sound later on. So it was interesting. I really enjoyed the drumming throughout this track, as it added so much energy and pace to it. And after the singer delivers the line, "When you're not on TV," the drummer slightly extends his stay on the snare before ripping off a nice little roll that launches into some brief but really fun and gnarly guitar riffage that segues into another verse. And I found myself, I think I may have even audibly been like, because I wanted that guitar to go on more, and little did I know what was to unfold in the future. With a few references to the Soviets, the verse comes and goes in almost a blink of an eye, and now we're back into another chorus, after which we get a more extended version of lively guitar shredding, and it's so damn good. This is everything I wanted in that teaser to evolve into, so I'm glad it's fully realized in this section. And it's pretty early on, like maybe the first few notes of it, where I realize this is about a man who leads a life of danger. So because this is this is Secret Agent Man. We don't not only do we have these allusions to Hawaii Five-O lyrically, but now we have this cheeky little musical phrasing nod to the guitar work of Rivers, Secret Agent Man tucked in there as well, which fits the motif perfectly. I mean, it's kind of like a shining star of early, or maybe the earliest, most popularized version of guitar rock sound, or of surf rock guitar sound. So it makes sense to have fit it into this package that they've got going on here. So that made me smile, and I thought it was clever. So after the guitar is done burning down the house, we catch a slightly distant, I think, 2, 3, 4 from I assume the lead singer before the song launches back into another verse and chorus. And this gave way to some jamming with the guitar ripping off a cool little melody as the singer calls out "Book 'em, Danno," which is like, Murder One, the "Book 'em, Danno," the famous line from that show. And then they put a bow on things, and we get a nice tight drum roll, and the song comes to a close. So yeah, I love the energy here and the odd but fun nods to an older television show and classic surf rock motif, which both clearly make sense, like I mentioned earlier, coupled together when you think about it in the confines of this tune. So yeah, it was a great shout and a really good time. At first, I really wanted to give the flowers in this song to the drummer for creating this, torrent pace that just goes through the whole way. But then it's the guitarist who ends up being kind of the one to shine by the end of it. So yeah, a lot of fun, great experience.
Excellent, excellent. This, for a couple of reasons, is a real, favorite of mine. I shall get into it.
All right.
So yeah, there's a lot to admire about this. So Radio Birdman, they're from Sydney, Australia, described as proto-punk, punk rock, garage rock, surf rock. And they went from 1974 to 1978, 1996 to 2008, and 2014 till present. Yeah.
Nice.
So Denzig Tech and Rob Younger formed Radio Birdman around 1974 in Sydney. They recruited classical keyboard player Philip Pip Hoyle, drummer Ron Keeley, and bassist Carl Roke. The band took their name from a mondegreen of the phrase radio burning in the Stooges song 1970s. They misheard it. The lyrics are, "Out of my mind on Saturday night, 1970 rolling in sight, radio burning up above, beautiful baby, feed my love all night." And they thought they were singing Radio Birdman. Anyway, so that's a long way from America to Australia. The line probably wasn't great.
Yeah. Things get lost.
So they started off, and this is really the start of punk across the world. And they developed a following for the emerging Sydney punk scene. And with the help of Rock Australia's magazine editor, Anthony O'Grady, the band got a studio and recorded an EP, Burn My Eye, and their first album, Radios Appear. So, personnel: Rob Younger, lead vocals; Dennis Tech, guitar, backing vocals; Chris Malziak, guitar and piano on one of the tracks of the album; Warwick Gilbert, bass; Ron Keeley, drums; Pip Hoyle, organ, piano. As you can imagine, with punk bands and whatever, there is a rotating cast of members. But the singer and the guitarist pretty much throughout. The album was recorded at Birdman's Trafalgar Studios, Sydney, during 1976 and 1977 in little piecemeal bits. Trafalgar initially distributed the album via mail order and by sales from the backs of friends and band members' station wagons. This did lay the groundwork for future DIY punk bands in Australia. And Radio's Appear was hailed by many as a real breakthrough album in Australian rock and a decisive change from the uneventful early mid-70s scene, it says here. And of course, it never achieved any commercial success whatsoever.
That sucks.
The album was hugely influenced by Detroit bands of the late 60s, such as MC5 and the Stooges. And the album's title, Radio Appears, comes from the Blue Oyster Cult song Dominance and Submission, which has also heavily influenced Radio Birdman's sound. The album, Radio Appears, was critically acclaimed, earning 5 stars in the Australian edition of Rolling Stone. Radio Appears was ranked as the 3rd best Australian album of all time in a 2008 list compiled by Melbourne newspaper The Age. And in October 2010, it was ranked number 13 in the book 100 Best Australian Albums. So it's right up there. All Music said this is primal and prime Radio Birdman, with Dennis Tech and Rob Younger firmly ensconced in the eye of this guitar-fueled hurricane, one of Australia's great rock and roll bands in all their glory. I'll talk about it in a sec, but Sire Records, the main man, Seymour Stein, he visited Australia to sign Brisbane punk band The Saints. I gave a track of theirs to Greg on Into the Music. And he actually caught Radio Birdman and persuaded them to sign up for him as well, to Sire Records. The Radio's Appear album was then re-released on Sire Records in 1978, with some tracks taken away and some additional tracks replacing them. This song didn't appear on the very first 1977 album, but did on the Sire Records the following year, 78.
Okay.
They then re-released it all again in 1995, where they compiled both tracks from both versions onto one, and that's the kitty I've got there. Let's get into the lyrics of this. So it starts up with the noises. So I always think it surfs up noise, but McGarrett's on the line to Danno. We got to pick up this guy, put out an APB. Not much time to tell you why. Governor says it's top priority. Washington says it so too. Tell Chin to get here fast. 5-0 is on the move. Steve, I want to thank you for all you've done for me. My night is dark and empty when you're not on TV. There's an agent in the field. I want to have him tailed. He's been staying at the Hilton. Yeah, should be staying in the jail. He's working for the KGB, and here's his dossier. Those Reds won't be happy till this guy gets his way. Steve, I want to thank you for all you done for me. My night is dark and empty when you're not in TV. And then the instrumental. If it was just the instrumental, I would give you this track because it really is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And then it kicks back in. Dark spectre of espionage hangs over fair Hawaii. McGarrett's one cool guy. The guilty will not go free. Steve and Danno, they made the scene. The agents had done his deed. Caught with a stiff and a silenced gun. He said, book him, Danno. Murder one. Steve, I want to thank you for all you've done for me. My nights are dark and empty when you're on TV. Book him, Danno. Murder one. Book him, Danno. One many, many, many times. Book him, Danno. Said book him, Danno. So, just as a reference to that, Hawaii 5-0 theme is an instrumental composed by Morton Stevens as the theme tune for the CBS TV series Hawaii 5-0, which ran from 1968 to 1980. It is considered by many to be one of the best television themes of all time. That's not quite correct. It is the best TV theme of all time. I would give honourable mentions to MASH, Taxi, The Incredible Hulk end theme, Lonely Man, Hill Street Blues, obviously, The Rockford Files, and of course, Minder, that we discussed in our guilty pleasures all the time. And I'm sure you've got the scars to prove it. And it's just absolutely awesome. The Ventures recorded a popular cover version of the theme in '68, which peaked in the top 5 the singles charts in the United States and in Canada. So I will say this about this album. It is great, but they're not just a punk rock band. There's other stuff in there. There's classic rock. There's some stuff which is absolutely amazing. There's a song called Man with the Golden Helmet, which has this beautiful piano in it. It's crazy. And it's nothing like punk. But they're really ahead of the time. This is 1977. And they're doing all these harmonies that someone like Buzzcocks would like really make popular as well later on in their sort of poppy punk. They're doing stuff which people were yet to catch up with, the surf rock as well, the beach rock as you call it. They're way ahead of their time, way ahead. So riding on the crest of the Australian punk movement, as plenty of other bands, they moved to the UK and they based operations there to tour UK and Europe. And they had plans laid down to tour the States, supporting the Ramones. However, Sire Records had financial troubles and dropped them from their roster. They recorded the second album, Living Eyes, in 1978, but the tapes to that lay dormant until 81 before it was released. Without a label, no tour to support or distribution, the relationship between the band's members grew strained, and they ended up splitting up after playing a last show at Oxford University in June '78. They reunited many years later for the Big Day Out tour in 1996 and again in '97. And since then, they've toured on and off sporadically. And as is the norm, there's a huge carousel of personnel happening plenty. The band's next album, Zeno Beach, was released in Australia in June 2006. Carl Roke, the original Radio Birdman bass player, died that year. Of the album's release, and so it was dedicated to his memory.
Nice.
In 2007, the band were inducted in the Australian Recording Industries Association ARIA Hall of Fame, and in December 2020, Radio Birdman were listed at number 44 in Rolling Stone Australia's 50 Greatest Australian Artists of All Time. And in 2024, Radio Birdman toured Australia to celebrate their 50th anniversary. The tour culminated with a concert in Sydney. So they're still going. They must be late 60s, maybe early 70s at this point, if they've been going 50 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Imagining this song being played by 60-something-year-olds is it's pretty funny. But hey, man, if you can still do it, you can do it. You know, go out there. If the Rolling Stones can get away with it, then anybody can. You know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I honestly. Hawaii Five-0 is my favourite TV theme tune of all time. Awesome. And I remember as a kid watching it, and there's distinct memories. One is of the actual sequence, and it was just exotic and exciting to like a 5-6-year-old. In the guys in the canoes and the woman doing the belly dancing, and then you zoomed in to this woman turning on the beach and a kid, and then Jack Lord standing on the balcony of this big building. And every time he appeared, either my parents or my grandparents would talk about him doing adverts for like Brill Cream or something. This luscious black hair. But yeah, it's super cool. And this is just a great, really fun song. It's not sort of a touchstone of the punk movement over, but it's awesome, and every time I hear it, it makes me smile.
Yeah. Well, it had that effect on me after just one spin, so I can only imagine what it's like when you have this nostalgic connection to it as well. But it was a lot of fun, and the nods to two different yet well-fitting things in Hawaii Five-0 and this Secret Agent Man was a lot of the Easter eggs alone was what made it fun for me. And then its overall sound and energy was, you can't really ask for more from, especially the first song that we're like Peek Behind the Curtain, the first song that we're doing today. It was just like, whew, all right, let's get started with this. We're off and moving. So yeah, I had a lot of fun giving this one a go, man.
Awesome. Cool. All right, I shall wrap things up. Thanks for listening to the Sound.
Thank you.
Folks out there, please let us know what you think. Hit the like button if you like this, and drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you. All about this song, Hawaii Five-0, Radio Birdman, anything you like. We've always enjoyed reading your comments. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. It really helps the channel, and we appreciate everybody who does give us support. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.